So here you are looking for a comparison for microphones. That's why you're here. That's why you came to this video today, because we happen to have the wireless 1, wireless 2, and the EWD series, which is also going to get you into the EWD X series as well, which is for the most exciting part of wireless microphones and gears today, Dante. If you don't know what Dante is, we'll cover that in another video, but these microphones are going to be your next generation product. But if you're watching this, it's probably because you've seen a lot of my videos where I talked about reasonably priced microphones. And if you're looking at over here, the EX1 or maybe the EX2 wireless series, those are both analog and reasonably priced products that have been out for many, many years. And that's a great way to start if you're, let's say, in the DJ business, or you're buying it for your own personal use. Maybe you have a small house of worship and you need a microphone. Now, if you're charging your customers over $1,000 a gig, I would start looking at getting more than just that. Those will work just fine. And you can buy yourself into 4 to 8 of those microphones, either in singles or in pairs, and they'll do a great job. But if you want to get even better than that, something where you're not going to compete with signal on an environment, something where you can have 24 to 100 microphones plus on a job site, you're going to be over here. These are available in singles, doubles, quads, and I think they even make them in an 8-pack. Now, buying more is better if you're basically a audio or sound technician, or you're an engineer and you're responsible for large project sizes where you're doing an entire concert. If you're hanging line arrays, for example, at your job, then you're going to be buying into the EW series, because getting the EWD series is going to get you into a digital line. So a lot of things that you have over here, which are advantages, like let's say squelch control. And squelch control, if you're not familiar, is a way to improve range. So these microphones have amazing range. Like you can go hundreds of feet away from the receiver and the microphone's going to work. But the problem is that we need to manage bad signal from good signal. So we want to basically turn the squelch all the way up and then reduce it until we lose our microphone and then bring it back a bit. And then basically we've maximized the signal strength with minimizing the background noise. That's what squelch is going to do. But that's because it's analog. Now, if we go ahead and get into the digital version, then that's gone. You no longer talk about that. The big feature that's over here that you talk about is time delay, because we're, of course, taking an analog signal, converting it into digital, broadcasting it across space and time, and how long is it going to take for it to get to the other end, convert it back to analog, and play it out your system? Well, that is 1.9 milliseconds, which basically, well, changes the way the universe looks. Science at play here. That is like being 2 feet away. Now think about it. I can have this wireless microphone 100 feet away and it'll still respond like it's 2 feet away. That is very impressive. Now you're into digital manipulation and control. Now, to give you all the features this guy can do, because it's a ridiculous amount of stuff, they do it through an app. Now, oh no, he said app, not again, more apps. Absolutely. Because if you were using this on a Dante system, you'd be using it on your computer, on a digital mixing console. And all of these features would be on that digital mixer. Now, what happens is it doesn't have Dante card inside of it, so it doesn't have that network connection unless you pay more, because this is roughly around $650. But they want to give you all that technology that they had to put on the actual circuit board in your pocket, also known as your phone. So that makes that unit very, very nice. Now, variety. Now, let's talk about variety versus brand, okay? The 800-pound gorilla in the room is the other guy, Shure. I mean, we're talking about Sennheiser. There's also Shure. These guys sponsored me, so of course I'm going to be talking about them. But we're talking about a Coke and Pepsi difference here in product. Everybody does great product. Some do it better than others in certain classifications, certain usages. And everybody's going to have a sound. It's all about their microphones, by the way. So let me grab one of those to give you an idea. So this is a Sennheiser microphone right here. I mean, this is the microphone of signature. So two companies that pretty much set the standard to what microphones look like. It's like, you know, car tires. Nobody's copying the other guy's car tires because, to be honest, you've got, you know, BF Goodrich and Michelin, and they pretty much everybody else makes a tire, and they're all round, and they're all going to make your car go, and they're all going to make them stop, and they're all going to be safe and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't mean that they're copying somebody else. They're just another car brand. But the two most recognizable brands when it comes to wireless microphones, of course, is Shure and Sennheiser. Now, the Sennheisers have that really nice, funky look. So I really, really do like the appeal to the product itself. Very smart. Now, this microphone, which looks so similar to their other microphones because it's their signature look, this is part of the EWD series. Now, it comes in a whole bunch of configurations. You can get it with different capsules, or you can get it preset like this one here. Now, I don't know if this is exclusive to Guitar Center. I'd have to look that up, but this one is a solid piece. Now, normally, you'd pay a price where you don't even get the capsule, so you're buying that with the actual unit. So you'd get that, and that'd be about, at the time of this video, $650, just for reference, okay? But this is what they sent me. They sent me one. Now, this is not removable in your traditional sense. This one here, when I try and remove this, all I'm removing is the actual. I'm taking it off right now here for you. This is, you're actually just taking off the windscreen, which is replaceable. That's the windscreen, dent resistant. If you drop it and you dent it and you want to have something that cosmetically looks better, good for you, you can replace it. Now, a little side note, trivia, these things are dentable, okay? They will actually dent. And why? It's not because they made it cheap. They made it so this way it'll dent before the capsule gets damaged. So the capsule is measured with so many G-forces when it hits the floor, okay? Now, to reduce that, absorb would be a better way, I guess. Absorb the energy, kind of like an airbag in a car, is the screen. The screen will take and cut the actual G-force down in half, hopefully saving your actual microphone. But that's why you buy this. Now, over time, if you decide you can replace this, it makes sure, so let's say it got damaged to the point that you want to get a whole new one. Well, you can buy all the components for the actual microphones. You're not buying a whole new rig. You're not getting a whole new system just because something died. You can either replace this, you can replace this, and if you have the model that has a replaceable cartridge on top, you can replace the actual microphone. So let me show you this microphone here that doesn't have a display on it. It's all black. One thing to say about their products is they're controlled from the bottom. When you see a switch on the top, this is literally a mute for the microphone. Now, if you have the digital version, when you mute it, it'll be seen digitally on your app. You'll know that somebody muted it. But for the channel, the smart sync, all the connections are done via the bottom. Two buttons power it up, one, and the other one connects it to the receiver. Now, this guy here, this happens to be one of those where the capsule comes off. So when you take the capsule off, there you go. Generic for Sennheiser equipment, by the way, so this microphone will fit onto any one of their handheld units. So again, you can buy this one with the unit. You can buy just the unit on its own. You can buy capsules on their own. So everything's bought in pieces. Makes it very nice. But when you buy your actual starter kit, for example, if you just go with the XSW1 is this guy here with the simple display on the front, you are going to pay somewhere between $280 to $300 depending if it's on sale or not. That'll get you this set right here. 50% more, you can turn around and get the XSW2. It's going to give you even more range capabilities, more channel capabilities, so this way you can get more done. The box is half plastic, half metal, so they kind of beefed up the whole unit. It has removable antennas on the back, so you can use a range extender for this unit. So this way, if you've got to do large setups outdoors, use the range extender. That's going to help you out dramatically. Or if you need to shoot somewhere far for a wedding setup where they want you to use this indoors and outdoors and you've decided to go this way, you can do that. Again, range extender option. That's why you have half metal, half plastic body. So where in comparison to the W1, you're not going to get those antenna options on it. It's fixed, it's built in. What it can do is what it can do. It's all there for you. I don't even think, you don't even have rack mount options with the W1. Now when you get to the W2, rack mount options are included in part of the package. So this way you can start building up. Now remember, something else. This particular one here that we're using is not being used with the handheld. So again, handheld comparison. So like we said, $280 to $300, and now you're up to $450 to $550, depending if it's on sale or not. And again, those prices are as of the time of the video. Use the link down below. Click on the actual QR code on the screen. That's going to get you to Guitar Center so you can see all the actual products and proper pricing. Very, very important. Now, the one I'm using here is this guy. This is your body pack version. Very, very exciting stuff. I love body packs, especially when they're good. This is great. Now, the body pack, when you buy it, they were nice enough. This one included the actual lapel, which the lapel model is the ME2. That's the one I'm wearing right now. And the ME2 is very versatile. It'll take care of most people for most jobs. So remember, this I think is most reasonably priced in this package here. Body pack, high performance, all the important features inside of it. If you're looking for something to move up your game where you're going to be using a mixing board and you're not going to be plugging USBs directly into things to make it work. For example, I use the Rode. Now, this isn't an ad. I'll have the Rode on its own video. But I use the Rode here to do my videos on my own. I have the Rode with the 2 receivers because, of course, this is USB. It does have a 3.5 jack to my mixing board, but it's designed for portability, ease of use, a little package. And I really don't have a ton of control. I can set it up and turn things on and turn things off, and they are amazing. They do all kinds of little tricks. But if you're doing for podcasts, yeah, that's probably what you're looking for. But if you're going to do something where you're going to have an orchestra, or you're going to have a band, or you're going to have opera singer, or you're going to have a play where you have lots of people mic'd up, this is what you're going to be using. You're going to be using body packs that are going to be hidden on your actual performers, and you're going to be wiring them up with some really nice headsets. I said that's a good buy here. But you can also buy the same version type technology to use over here on the digital package as well. Now, doing it on digital is very important because you're probably now looking at a much higher end commercial rollout product. And at this point, you're probably not even watching this video if you're that type of customer. If you're in that price point and you're regularly buying hardware like this or looking at hardware like this, you don't need a video to tell you. You are probably an engineer or a technician that has gone through all of this and knows what they're looking at, because this isn't something brand new. But if you're like me, graduating yourself and you want to move up into a higher plane where you want to go from doing shows at this level, $1,000, and you want to start doing shows above $1,000, you're going to be starting to look at some serious product. You're going to be looking at the EWD series, and you're going to want to start looking at some serious investments depending on the shows. So that brings me to investment. When do you buy this product? When do you do it? When do you invest all your money into the equipment you think is best for you? Well, you do it when it's right for you, okay? And how do you determine that? I'll tell you when it's right for me. I get to a point where renting the product isn't practical anymore. I'm using it on a regular basis, and I would make more money as the owner of the product than as the actual person who goes and rents it out and just makes money on the setup and monitoring of the system on site. So the technician part of it, because again, there's 2 types of technicians. There's wet and dry technicians. One technician brings the equipment with them. It's part of the service that you're offering, which is what I plan on doing here. And then there's the dry technician, which basically you're only there to babysit. Somebody else is bringing it in. They just need some local guys to set it up. That's a possibility as well. But I prefer to be the wet guy because that's the price range. I have the gear and the equipment. That's where I want to make my opportunity, my money. Sometimes you have DJs that are coming in on special shows and venues. They're not wedding DJs. These are DJs that are being brought in from a bar or a club, and they're going to do a special show at a bar somewhere else, and they need the equipment. Maybe you're doing a DJ show for a larger production. Maybe you're just doing a show where you're going to basically pay DJ to come in and do a couple hours for a private set, and then off it goes. Sound technicians will do all of that. Now, a lot of times, sound technician who's also part of all the equipment is going to or not doing the engineering portion of it. So that's the one that controls and sets up all the mics and runs the actual soundboard, the mixing board, the console for the actual show. Sometimes the band has their own people and they're going to use their own equipment for that end of it. Sometimes they want you to supply the mixing consoles and they give you a list that are compatible with the engineer's skill level. Sometimes they don't tell you any of that. But an engineer is the guy who runs the production. He can run the stadium. He can run the hall. He can run the indoor-outdoor venues. He can run the equipment to match the sound up with the performers. That's what the engineer does. He's the artist. running everything. So again, I prefer to be the technician, the sound technician. I do some engineering. I can do some DJing. But my actual goal is to be that sound technician right down the middle. So when am I going to buy this equipment? When it gets to a point where I've had at least 2 or 3 customers in the same month where that requirement of that level of product is needed and I had to rent it. I get to a point where I'm renting something 4 times a month, then I might as well have bought it. Because I do plan on replacing everything 3 years in. Some things are like mechanical and they're not going to break, but anything that has a wear and tear value to it, you got to look at it that way. You also have to look at how many units you're going to need of something. That's also very important. So if I'm buying into a microphone setup, I'm going to buy a pair. So if I need singles, I buy 2 singles. And then if I wanted 4, then I buy 2 pairs. Have them side by side in the rack. Why? Because if I have a fail rate on one of the pieces of equipment, I'm not losing both receivers or all 4 microphones. If only 2 microphones are being handled by 1 receiver, then I can offset the other 2 with some corded mics or my backup wireless system for the actual client to use. That being said, if you're running 16 microphones, you're going to be running them in sets of 4 or maybe just a couple of sets of 8. But again, you have to have some reliability factors there and saying, I trust and believe in this equipment. Things you need to have spares. You need to have spare handheld mics, body packs, lavaliers, even power supplies that you plug in the back of the unit. You want to have a spare with you on the larger jobs. Because if something goes wrong, it's most likely one of those type of fail rates. When you're dealing with a brand of this caliber, when you're dealing with a super high-end brand that's what I consider, Sennheiser to be one of those ultra brands that you're going to buy. Them ensure they're going to guarantee you a much more reliable, dependable, long-term relationship with that piece of hardware you have versus always having to be concerned about the fail rate. Because their products are tested, burnt in, they know what's going on with them. They've got some stake in the game. Their reliability, dependability depends on that product and you buying more of their gear, because the market, to be honest, is very small. It's a very small market. We're looking at very high-end brands, but the market, this isn't like buying an iPhone or a Samsung 24, 25, whatever it's up to. This market is small. The products are very premium when it comes to what you buy. So yes, am I asking you to spend some money? Yeah. When do you buy a generic versus a brand name? That's another good question. Generics are fine anytime. I mean, by all means, buy what you can afford, but also remember the reliability, dependability, and quality of the use. How much feedback you're going to get from it, how much background noise, how much static, how much range. Those are all going to be variations, and you're always going to get stuck with some combination of that when you're buying into generics. So if you're shopping on Amazon, remember, if you're buying for yourself, if it's for personal use, personal consumption as a wireless system, you decide what's best for you. I've done a lot of brands that I'm proud of saying, yeah, those are great for karaoke, great for home systems, great for DJs, great for a bar or a restaurant, great. But if you're going to get to a point where someone's contracting you to do a service, so this way they can perform to an audience that they've charged for admission, you don't want to be held on the hook for the equipment not working. Now, God forbid something goes wrong and there's a fail rate. If it's your failure to provide the sound that the artist, the band who contracted you to do the work can't deliver to their paid customers, who do you think can be held on the hook for that? That could be you. So when I say you want to have yourself a wireless unit that costs you $650 or $1,300, depending on the setup, the idea of having extra backups, if you can't afford to cover the cost of that gig going sideways and your reputation going out the window and never getting another job, you're going to have to buy yourself some responsible pieces of equipment, reliable, dependable, back-ended stuff that you can work with. You'd be surprised at how many brands are really good at what they do. But when it comes to wireless microphones, it's hard to find the good ones amongst all of them. like I said, two brands that you pretty much aren't going to go wrong with whatever you buy, as long as you buy the right product for the gig. You can easily say, because you're watching a Sennheiser video, that, oh, I only buy Sennheiser because, you know, that last Shure microphone was shit. All I got was feedback out of it, blah, blah. Might have had the wrong microphone, regardless of the brand you buy. If you have a problem with this microphone here, with buying yourself the Sennheiser, it might be the product, but it just as well might be the way you're using the product that could lead you into problems. A lot of people aren't going to say that, and I got to be honest. It's as much the product as it is the person, and the person makes the product great. The product is only product, it's only a piece of hardware. It's like if I was in a NASCAR race, the NASCAR is like a piece of engineering marvel for what you can do with this piece of hardware. But if I'm the one driving it, I'm going to put it in the wall. And it's not the car's fault. It'll be my fault. Doesn't matter how good the car is. I don't know how to drive 200 miles an hour. It's just the reality. I will do individual reviews on all of them, but I did want to do an introduction onto what I think about high-end, high-quality, high-performance products. Are they more expensive than the no-names? Of course they are. That's because they're better. And not just in the sound, and not just in the reliability, but in the reassurance, comfort that you have in knowing that you bought something half decent. You can't afford for them to fail, then you need something that'll definitely get the job done. That's my introduction video to this piece of equipment. We'll talk about it some more. We'll also talk about the fact that I'm transitioning from doing just this type of studio review work to actually going out in the field, and how that's going to be my driving force to making these videos, is trying to achieve a goal that makes me happy, which is balancing making content and having an income that can pay for everything I do. Because to be honest, making YouTube videos, you're not going to pay the bills. You're not going to get rich. There's a whole bunch of other things you have to do, and it's not just this. That being said, please like, comment, and subscribe, and please use that QR code, which is right down on the bottom of the screen. I think it's actually on this side. Am I right? It's right over there. Okay, I got that wrong. It's been there this whole time. Right there. Ta-da! Awesome. See you next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.